are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome to Spirit's Journey, coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. Your hosts are Patrick and Catherine Andrews.
Join us each week as we explore a wide range of metaphysical topics such as dreams, astrology, intuitive readings, and life purpose. You'll receive practical guidance so that you can live your most awesome life.
Learn more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com and connect with us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spirit's Journey. Good afternoon. Maybe it's good morning or good evening where you are listening to us, but we are coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception. We are also being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. We're here in the Heartland holding the energy for spiritual truth and awareness. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Catherine. Welcome, everyone. We are very excited. We have another amazing guest who is also going to be a presenter at the Reignite Your Life Summit in June in Florida. So we have a very interesting guest today, Joelle St. Germaine, whose list of abilities and professions is simply astounding. Joelle is a teacher, event coordinator, producer, coach, and gifted healer trained in Swedish massage, reflexology, acupressure, cranial sacral, Reiki, Theta healing, creating fulfilling relationships, the 7 healing rays, manifestation, and angel healing. And she uses all of these in her integrative transformational personal sessions. So Joelle, actually for the past 18 years, she's been focusing her teachings and talents on spiritual awareness and healing arts. And during this time, Joelle has also combined her knowledge of communication skills as a teacher, event coordinator, and agent for herself and other spiritual teachers and organizations, and booking tours and events in the United States, Canada, England, Ireland, France, Monaco, Italy, Denmark, Sweden, and Brazil. So we are so excited to have Joelle here, who is also, I might add, a talented and creative television show producer with over 20 years of production and post-production experience as a producer, director, editor, and professor. So, Joelle, welcome.
Hi, Joelle.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Hello.
So it's very exciting to have you here today.
And so we've got the Reignite Your Life Summit coming up soon in June, when we're going to talk about that today. But let's get started with a really interesting piece of work that you do, which is visiting sacred sites and offering, workshops there for people. And so we've had Robin Rose on as well, who talked about her experiences at some different sacred sites. So I would love to know, how do the sacred sites affect the work that you do with helping others to embrace their authentic selves?
Oh, I think for me, when people ask me what is my favorite thing to do, it is going to sacred sites and bringing people to them. And a lot of it has to do with whatever we're healing for ourselves, we heal for humanity and we heal for the planet. And these sites have such amazing energy and connection to our history and to who we truly are. And to be able to go to these sites and do the work with the people who are attending, but also with the planet and the sites themselves is amazing. And we're able to see change. Like in that moment, there are a couple. We went, Robin and I went a few years ago to Ireland and England, and Marcus Mason, who's amazing with sacred sites and has been a speaker at the Universal Lightworkers Conference for us a number of times. He went as kind of an extra guide to help us because he knows these sites so well. And what we ended up doing was we featured that if we went to a masculine energy site, we went to its sister site as well. And it was very interesting how some sites were completely open and then the twin site was completely closed off. And to be able to feel the difference in the change and then feel how it affected each one of us and how those things healed for us was really interesting. But that tour itself was really amazing because at the time, Robin was living in the Pacific Northwest, and there had been all kinds of weather things that were going on. And there were actually lots of predictions of huge tsunamis hitting that area up through British Columbia and even into Alaska. And the work that we did, because especially Ireland and England, it's so much working with the ley lines and the different, basically acupressure points of the planet, that we just did so much work there that when we got done, we felt like the area was so clean and clear. But people back in the Pacific Northwest were like, wow, all this stuff was supposed to happen and nothing happened. And they commented on how the shift of the energy was so amazing. And for the people on the tour with us, we noticed the same type of thing, that by the end of the tour, their energies had shifted. They were clearer. They were more balanced. And I think that's one of the main things I love to do, is that when we can get to a place of balance, we're actually more present and working from our authentic selves.
And so, Joelle, do you find that you perhaps may have been drawn to certain places where you feel you may have had some past life existences and you feel called there? And so when you go there, part of the healing experience is, tying up loose ends with a particular past life or experience that you've had there before?
Oh my gosh, so many times. And even before I was even connecting in with my spiritual side, I remember being in Paris on a tour for high school, and we're driving along at night, and all of a sudden I remembered being in Paris like hundreds and hundreds of years beforehand, and it was like a deja vu. I had never experienced that before. But after that, I started realizing every time I went to a site, even here in the U.S., different places, I would feel that experience. But especially in Europe, I constantly have those. I remember the first actual sacred site tour I went on was in 2004, and we were in France, and we went to this one Cathar site called Passart. And I remember all of a sudden seeing, as we were doing a lot of toning work to really open up the energies and release all the stagnant energy and release those beings who were stuck there, or at least our energy was stuck there. And I remember all of a sudden seeing everyone get up off of who've been killed there, because I don't know if you guys know the history of the Cathars, but it was basically the Cathars and the Catholics, and it's a long story about how the whole process went, but they were basically killing all the Cathars in France. And so, but no one knew who a Cathar was and who a Catholic was for the most part. So they would just go and destroy everybody in the town that was known to have Cathars in it. And besides, I also just saw all these people stand up out around the castle, and they all were happy and excited and shaking hands. And I saw myself as a man in that lifetime. I connected completely with them. And then I saw these glass escalators going up towards heaven. I know it was symbolic, but they all got on it and left. And there was such a shift in the energy when we were done. And that was the first time I'd experienced seeing myself physically in a land and knowing that I had been there and that now that part of my past was cleared. And it was amazing. But and that tour in itself, it happened constantly throughout the whole tour. But I've experienced it even our last tour that Robin and I did, the women's retreat we did to Lourdes, France. I felt the energies that had been there because I've had a lot of lifetimes in France and in England and Ireland, but this particular one in France. And I know I had been there a number of times, whether it was around the time before Mary. I know some of it was before Mary made her appearance in Lourdes, but even afterwards. And I think I've actually brought groups there because it just felt like it was so natural to be there with groups of people.
Wow, I love that. That's so interesting because I also have had, calling to go to certain places. And one of the biggest ones for me, I had wanted to go to Spain. And when I got there, it was like such a feeling of warmth, of familiarity, with the people and the places, like I belonged there. And what was really fascinating was when I was there, a different part of myself emerged, a personality part of mine that really hadn't been fostered when I was living in the States. I love connecting the dots and, seeing why we're drawn to places. And I like to just follow those urges. And I know that there's some kind of healing there for me or something for me to see that perhaps is going to close the circle or bring some understanding about a past life that I've had. So I think that's awesome. You're doing the work that you do.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I'm sorry. I was going to say it's amazing
That's all right. Go ahead.
How we can connect in with the souls. I remember I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Tor in Glastonbury, England, but that's considered the throat chakra of the planet. And in the Tor, I mean, that at one point was surrounded by water. And the Tor itself is a spiral labyrinth. You can go upstairs on either side of it that take you up, or you can walk all the way up, which supposedly takes about 6 hours, and we didn't have the time to do that, unfortunately. But the first time I was there, we went up, and the wind is so strong when you get up to the top. And we went into, all that's left of the church there, St. Michael's, is actually just the steeple part. And so we were inside. It was actually a tour that Michael and my dad was doing, and Michael did to release all the souls who had been killed around there. And all of a sudden, the wind stopped outside, and it gushed up inside through the Tor and out through the top. And we all just started laughing because we could feel how happy the souls were to be released. And to me, that was the most amazing and transformative experience, because it showed how simple and how easy it is when we have the intention from love and light to help another soul, whether they're in this lifetime or in a past life or stuck there. So that's what I try to do on every tour that we do. We try to connect in with not only our past lives, but the past lives of others who are there, with the land, with Mother Earth, every aspect of who we could be and where we are. And to be able to experience that really helped me to focus when I do my own tours, to do that same type of work.
That's awesome. So let's say you're meeting somebody for the first time who hasn't really heard about sacred sites, and you're explaining to them. How would you explain sacred sites to somebody like that has never heard of it before?
Sacred site can be anywhere and anything. But for the most part, the ones and there are different types of sacred sites. You have the ones that we've done in England and France and Ireland, which you're dealing a lot with the ley lines, and wherever the ley lines cross is kind of like an acupressure point for the planet, and it's a very strong, the energy is so strong there. And it's a place where people over time just know that people show up at these sites without realizing why. And they go and they do some type of ritual there. And to the point where you may have what people would refer to kind of as a pagan site, which really is just a different religion. But then eventually a church gets built on top of that, and another church like that. And they people just know to keep rebuilding and going to that site. So like when I did the site, we were mainly doing churches and cathedrals, but it was about the masterpiece that we are, the art, the history, that part of us, that masterpiece that God created us to be, and connecting in with all the art, because the churches were art pieces themselves, and then the art inside of them. And so a sacred site can be anywhere that is that divine energy of God is connected into the land, into the beingness, that people are just drawn to. You just know that you're supposed to be there. And sometimes it's a dormant site, and you feel like there's something wrong there, and you need to go and heal it. And other times it's there, the energy, you're drawn to it because you need to heal. And so I think that's the most amazing thing about a sacred site is it can be for you, or it can be for humanity, or it could be for the site that needs to be healed. And that if you just allow yourself to be open, your heart will draw you there. You'll go there, and you'll know without even realizing why you're there. So if you even find yourself here in Florida, we have the more calming gardens. I consider those a sacred site because the beauty and the essence of them just draws you into that sacredness of the planet, the sacredness of Mother Earth. And I think if we just allow ourselves to just connect in that way, everywhere that we go can be a sacred site, but just some of them are ones that we're more drawn to because of the past history of the planet and humanity in itself.
So would you say that maybe quieting your mind and feeling the energy, checking in with how you feel in different areas and what particular locations are stimulating within you, would that be a good way for somebody to start experimenting with what you're talking about?
And it was funny. I'm from New England, especially Massachusetts, and every time I'm in Ireland, England, I see parts of New England as part of that. And when I came back, I started noticing, even near my parents' house, that there are tons of sacred sites that people don't even know that they're sacred sites. They just happen to be there, and people just like, oh, they're there. And they can get lost. Some are in the woods, and most people don't even see or know that they're there. But the fact that just having done a little bit of experience by having gone on a sacred site or something, I'm actually more attuned to it. So the more that you allow yourself to attune to the energies of a sacred site, the more drawn you are to those sites. So like I said, just connecting in, being present, and allowing yourself to be drawn to them. And then once you are, allowing yourself to attune to each one of them, it allows you to kind of find the next one and the next one, and the next one, or to be more drawn.
Now you talked
and
about
be drawn over and over again too, because I've taken people back again and again to some of the same sites, and people are like, well, why would I want to go to the same site again? And I'm like, because it's just like in healing process, there's always more healing to do. There's another layer. There's more to do there. There's something else that has happened in the meantime. So going to a sacred site, I had like Stonehenge. Every time I've been to Stonehenge, I've had a different experience, and it's been amazing. And it's like it builds each time on the next one and the last one. So it's amazing.
Right. It's like you're always different every time you go back, right? So you're what has changed,
Exactly.
and the energies have shifted. So there can never really be a particular point in time that's exactly the same. So it'll always be a little bit different.
Exactly.
Right? So you talked about ley lines and how the ley lines come together to form these sacred sites. And would you describe the ley lines of the planet being similar to like the acupuncture meridians in the body? Could you describe that a little bit, how the ley lines work?
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Our own bodies, what we call meridians and acupressure points, are basically the same thing that the planet has. We just refer to them as ley lines. I mean, every culture has a different name for what they call them in their different areas. It just in most of Europe, they refer to them as ley lines, and that's kind of been what people have picked up on throughout most of the world. But yes, it's just, I mean, you can go onto different points on a ley line and still have sacred sites, but when they cross, they are so powerful. I remember one of my favorite places where they cross in England, it's the Archangel Michael or St. Michael line and the Mother Mary line. And in Glastonbury, England, in the Glastonbury chapel or cathedral, there is the Mother Mary little wattle church that she had there that is known as the Ladies' Chapel. And in the Ladies' Chapel, where the altar is right where the ley lines cross there. Oh. And I had burned my nose from off of another sacred site because it was a quartz crystal type of stone and the sun had hit it, and there had been some other healing work done on it. But when I went there, the energy from that ley line I felt go right up my nose, and it was like the healing that I was receiving from it was amazing. And I think people would think that was kind of strange, but I found that energetically when I'm releasing a lot of stuff, I release it through my nose. So the fact that they healed that energy through my nose allowed me then to continue releasing more for myself. So those points are very, very powerful and very strong. You'll see that more people are drawn to the sites in which they come together because it is like an acupressure point on the planet. So the more healing work that's done on those points, the more that spreads throughout the entire planet itself.
Wow. Yeah, I studied architecture earlier in my life, so it's always interesting to me how some of these buildings and these locations that have become icons around the world, we think that it was just chance or something, but a lot of times people had an intuitive sense that those areas were special. Mm-hmm. And I think it can also play the other way, that if somebody builds a structure in an area where the energies aren't really very beneficial, you know, there could be, you know, you could have more challenges in some of those areas. Would you say that might be true too?
Oh, definitely. I mean, anytime the energies are off, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example, Stonehenge. That is the universal heart center of our planet. And it's so powerful and so amazing. But at one point, people were misusing the power and the energy of that site. And it partially destroyed itself in order to keep from that energy, to the negative energy, to keep building. Oh. So it's interesting that a site in itself can, if it's being misused, react. So you may have a site in which people keep building and using incorrectly, that maybe the site keeps burning down, or people just feel wary and don't even want to go near it. And it may not be that it's a bad site. It just means that people may be misusing the site.
Oh, okay.
So do you have any thoughts on the recent burning of Notre Dame in Paris? Was anything come to you about, you know, why, you know, metaphysically or energetically that happened?
You know, there were some things that I kind of intuitively got from it, thinking, I mean, the fact that everyone's heart broke for it. And I think that was part of the what was happening, and the fact that everybody prayed and sang prayers and even prayed, and you would just get crowds and crowds, and then like glued to the internet or TV to just see what's happening. And the fact to see the next day how that it was basically just in the attic area above, and that so much of the inside is still perfectly intact, and that they were able to get a lot of the artwork out, and that the rose windows. I mean, I remember being 16 and walking into Notre Dame and looking up at the largest rose window there, and just being literally in awe, like my mouth dropped. It was just, and the sun was coming through it, and it was just so magnificent. And the beauty of it just like filled my heart. So I was like, oh my gosh, I hope they're right. So I was praying that they would be intact, and they're perfect now afterwards. But I actually read today, Patricia Colobos put out an email about what's going on with the divine feminine and the connection. And she talked about Notre Dame and how that Notre Dame means Our Lady, and how when that was built, it was built to bring in, because when we went through what we refer to as basically the separation from God, or our belief that we're separated from God, that we actually closed off ourselves to our mother God, and that Notre Dame was built to help bring that remembrance back for us. And that over time, people kept trying to destroy it, and it didn't get destroyed. And right now, we're going through a resurrection period in our humanity for the divine feminine, and that it needed to have that resurrection. It needed to burn off the parts that needed to be changed. And the building itself was in the process of being renovated. So right now, with the influx, I think last I had heard, over $700 million had been donated to help rebuild it, and that this connection, this rebuilding, will help rebirth that Mother God energy within the entire planet and within each one of us. So while it's very sad, I know at the same time, I think it's going to be something miraculous for us all.
Yeah, I agree. When we look at things with physical eyes, it's just, oh, tragedy. But, we can step back, take a metaphysical perspective. And what you just offered was amazing with the connection with the divine feminine. And there is a purifying element to fire. So it helps us look at that situation with a little different eyes.
Definitely.
So we have about 4 minutes before the break, but I did want to ask you about some of the other sacred sites that you've been to. What have been some of your experiences at these sites?
When we were talking about past life, there's a very small stone circle in England called Dunlow Stone Circle that people use a lot for the different full moons and moons, and it's very kind of just more of kind of like the shamanic community, and they're not really shamans over there, but more restored community, I should say. But people just go and they love to connect with it. And like I said, it's only small. There's maybe 6 or 8 stones there. And I remember there, I burst into tears, and I put my hand on one of the stones, and I was like, hello, nice to meet you. And they're like, welcome back. And I was like, what? And then I started seeing myself there, and I looked at one of the other girls in the group, and she was also crying, and I saw herself in a past life. And then afterwards, I was saying what happened. She goes, me too. And then we realized we were really there, and that was. And so it was interesting to connect with that particular site that way. But I've had so many amazing experiences. And I think probably some of my favorite are Stonehenge. I mean, I've been there 3 times, and each time we had private access to the center of Stonehenge. And like I said before about the first time, I was just connecting with the energy, and I loved it. It was so beautiful, but it was so powerful. I felt like my hands were like 10 times the size of what they currently are. And we did a meditation, put our head down to the ground, and I felt like it was pulling me into the ground to fully connect with the energy of the site. And then the next time we were in a circle doing a meditation, and I immediately saw each one of us as a spoke at the beginning of a wheel. And then behind each one of us were just ascended masters and archangels and all kinds of beings that went out through infinity. And then when we finished, Marcus mentioned that was the universal heart center. And so it made perfect sense to me how we connected together like that. And then the last time I was there, it was very interesting because Jesus took me on a meditation of my own with him, in which we went to a green planet, and there was a green Stonehenge, but it was perfectly intact. And I, of course, jumped to we're going to bring this energy back. And bring not yet. Then we went to a turquoise one, and then we went to red. And then I finally went, we're doing the chakras. And so we actually did the 7 main chakras and the high heart chakra as well. And we brought all that energy back into Stonehenge and connected that energy back into it. And so it was really cool for me to experience doing that type of energy work with the planet, with the different planets that we were connecting with, to bring that energy back to Stonehenge. And So for me, each sacred site is different and amazing and fabulous. There's one, I think it's called the Ballymore Stone Circles up in Northern Ireland, which are 7 stone circles. And the first time I went, I walked into the first one and it took me one direction. Then the next stone circle took me another direction. And I realized that they were different, the masculine and feminine energies of each. And, but my favorite stone circle, I know I'm giving a lot of information really fast.
No, that's all right.
Stone circle, it is the Boscawen Stone Circle in St. Ives, England. And this happens to be the root chakra of the Mother Mary ley line there. And I've been there 3 times, and it's each time I connect in and fall more and more in love with the site. But it's 19 stones, and in the center is this large quartz crystal stone that's kind of at an angle, and little stone. And the last there, you have to go around the outside of the circle first, connecting in with each stone, and then on the inside, connecting with each stone. And then she did had Mother Mary work with each of us, and then we went to the center stone. And I remember each stone showed me what their function was in that stone circle. And sometimes the outside and the inside had different functions. And then the ones that were where the energy came through showed me that they were the gatekeepers. Another one showed me the history of the site, and that it was the historian. And I literally saw how people throughout centuries have been using that circle and still do. And it was just the most amazing experience for me to connect in with these stones in such a way. And people laugh. They're like, you talk to the stones and they gave you messages, but everything in our planet is energy, and everything is connected, and that energy always stays with everything. There's no reason why we can't tap into the history and the messages of anything in this life. So for me, it was just, that's one of my favorite places in the world to go.
All right. Well, that's our cue that we are going into our break. So during the break, you can go to the Spirits Journey page and support tfrlive.com. And this is Spirits Journey on Truth Frequency Radio. See you on the other side.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
Welcome back from the break. This is Spirit's Journey coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio, being simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. And we are glad to have you back. I want to give a shout out to everybody on the chat room on tfrlive.com as well as onenesstalkradio.com. And we are back.
And so we have with us today Joelle St. Germaine, who is participating in an amazing event I want to let y'all know about. It's called the Reignite Your Light Summit, June 22nd and 23rd in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This summit has an amazing lineup of speakers and presenters, everyone from Dan Millman to Kelly Kucha to Joelle, Dee Wallace. So check it out. It's for people who are interested in releasing limiting thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors, discovering why it's important to listen and be willing to follow your inner calling, how to live in the light of who you really are with more joy, peace, and purpose. Pursue your dream of making a greater impact in the world. If that sounds like something you're interested in doing, check out reigniteyourlightevents.com. And we're also going to be asking Joelle to give us some more details about that as well. So welcome back, Joelle. And I want to kick off the second half of the show talking about authenticity. And I know that you wrote one of your greatest desires is to help others embrace their authentic selves. And I totally agree. I think we're in the era where our true self is wanting to be birthed. And so I'd love for you to share, how you came to discover your authentic self and bring it out. And what are some limiting beliefs that you find a lot of your students are dealing with right now?
Oh, it's been an ongoing process for me. I think we all always for healing and growing, and to find to be that for me to be my authentic self is to be really present in the moment with Father, Mother, God, and to find that joy and that love and that peace and just how that resonate within me. And I noticed probably the main thing that I'm seeing, because it's the same thing that I dealt with for a long time, it was the limiting beliefs of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I'm alone. Those type of beliefs that aren't really true in the big scheme of things, but because we feel separate, we've created those beliefs in our lives, whether we brought them in through past lives that have come back in. It may be one of our main areas that we chose to work on in this lifetime, or genetically, it could be stuff from family members that come through, or just things that we've learned in this lifetime. And I noticed, especially when we go to a truthfully sacred site area to work with these, that the energies are so strong that we're able to really delve into those areas even deeper and release them and to then refill with the love and light of God and whatever it is that we truly need in that moment. And so for me, it's about not just letting go of those, but identifying that whenever we're not in a place of love, peace, or joy, that we're not being our authentic selves, that we're basically taking things personally, that we're judging ourselves more so than anybody else. And I actually did a live class. Rob and I are doing, we switch off every time, not taking things personally. And basically it comes down to whenever I'm not feeling like I'm in oneness with God, I'm taking something personally, because that's the only thing that could be is either I'm in one with God, or I am taking it personally because I'm choosing to be a victim in that moment. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. That most when I'm working with clients, whether it's at a retreat, in a workshop, just to be fully present in the moment.
I love that. We just had Michael Rice on last week, who basically reiterated the same thing you're saying in a little different way. But this idea that, when we are in that space of true love, that, no one can do anything to us ever. And, going beyond the victimhood and all those other areas we can get when we go into the separateness. And so I love that when we're in the love, we are in our authentic self. And I know that the Reignite Your Light event has a lot to do with helping people bring out their authentic selves. Is that one of the, main goals of the weekend?
Yes, it's about anytime you're not feeling that connection with God or each other, it's about we're not being authentic to ourselves. And the conference is really about reigniting that in each moment in us. And there's some people like, well, my light is already lit, but we're always raising the vibration of each other and the planet and all of humanity. So when we come together, we're able to really raise that vibration even higher and reignite that light for everyone. And that's what the conference is really about. It's about bringing each of us together and bring our own, fanning the flames and making them brighter and bigger, and so that we can really do more healing work for ourselves and the planet and for all of humanity. And it's about remembering that love and light of God that we truly are. I mean, we did the Universal Lightworkers Conference for so long, and it was about that oneness that we are with God. But this time we were drawn more to, I think, Universal Lightworkers is referred to as a New Age conference. And this is more just an inspiration that in past creating categories on this and that, reigniting it within each of us and really enjoying the time we spend together and raising our vibration and feeling that love and light of God in every moment.
Reminds me of the truth that I've heard, that you are the result of the 8 people that you surround yourself with, or something like that. And so I think it is so important who we surround ourselves with, and being at a conference like that with everybody who is interested in personal growth and love and evolve, wanting to evolve, nothing but good can come of that. I know I want to be there badly. So
oh, I hope you guys are able to make it, because I know it's going to be an amazing event. And it's not just it's about connecting every aspect of your life. So we're going to have some of the speakers are going to talk about from a business standpoint. Some are going to talk about more inspirational, inspiring every aspect of your being. And others are going to talk about, like Dan's going to talk about your soul's purpose and how to really connect in with that and identify it and how to work with that. And his book, The Life You Were Born to Live, is in its 25th edition. And he actually added more information into it. And it's so powerful, and it uses the universal laws and numerology. And I remember being at events at Robin's house in Washington State, and she always had the book just laying around, and we couldn't stop picking it up because you'd read like 7-9, and I am so a 27-9. It's like there's nothing. It picks it up, realize, and then you can connect in and really see where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. You give lessons to help you heal those, how to work with the different laws that are there for you, and it's so cool. And so each aspect of life, like Rob Mack is, he wrote the book Happiness from the Inside Out, and he's a happiness coach, and he has a show on every morning live. It's called Good Morning La La Land, and it's all about
Joelle?
the art of science and science of happiness. It's great.
I know. I love that. We're going to be having Robert on in a few weeks, and I'm all into happiness, so I can't wait to see what he has to say on that. And I love the fact that this conference, like you said, is going to have some people who have a business focus. And I've been seeing more and more at conferences I've been to and the path I'm on is this fusion between business and spirituality, that there are so many light workers now becoming entrepreneurs and turning their interests or natural healing abilities into a business. And I think that's phenomenal. I know we've been doing that for, ever since we started out on this track 20 odd years ago or something. And so for a lot of people, that's a challenge because, they feel if they have a healing ability, they should give it away for free, that they shouldn't charge. And so there's always been kind of that funny link between, well, this is spirituality, I can't make it a business. And we're finding that's not true at all. And that in order for us to bring our gifts out, we need to figure out a way to combine this idea of spirituality and our gifts into a business.
Exactly. And I think a lot of that has to do with getting away from the old paradigms of, because a lot of the New Age community would think that you have to, that if God gave you this gift, you're supposed to give it away for free. Where God never wanted. God wants you to prosper and wants you to experience everything in life to the highest possible, and then keep it. And so I think right now that what I really love, especially Kelly Keisha, I'm actually taking her class, Ignite the Next Chapter, right now. And it's about your business, taking your passion and taking that healed aspect of who you were and who you are now and making it your full-on brand, and how you can then take that and expand it through your business. And her business is Your Yummy Messy Life. And it's because everything in this life is yummy and messy, and we have to embrace all aspects of ourselves and what we do. And I think for me, for years, it was always hard. I always worked behind the scenes with everybody else because I always thought that that's what I'm on my path. I am a 9 path, a life path, and which is all about humanity. So I was here to help humanity by helping other teachers, and accept that everything God was telling me was actually stuff I was supposed to do. So it took me up until a couple of years ago to finally acknowledge that and embrace it. And it's been hard because I was so stuck in doing everything for everybody else. Now it's coming back to like, who am I? How am I supposed to help people? I have all these gifts that I have, but how do I take them and then help other people to heal themselves? And for me to acknowledge that. And it took a long time to finally get to that point, and it was hard, but I think having to be Kelly Keisha who can really help us embrace that and who is in it herself. I think that's what's great about our speakers is every one of them has had some type of either dark mental or has had experiences that brought them down where they've and had everybody
So I can definitely relate to that struggle of being able to cross that threshold of being able to earn money doing my spirituality and offering my spiritual gifts. I'm not sure exactly where that got started in our culture where, like you said, it's this idea that if we have this spiritual talent or gift that we need to do that for free. And I still encounter people sometimes who have a very strong belief about that. And yet, if your gift to the world is accounting, there's certainly no problem asking for a paycheck or a fee in exchange for your services. So I think that it certainly makes sense that if our gift is spirituality, that we I think that it makes sense that we should be able to earn a living doing that, so that we can really spend as much time as possible in that field. If that's really our gift, we need to be able to invest as much time as we can while we're here to get as much accomplished. So I do definitely appreciate that comment that you made. I do have a question from our chat room, and it looks like Zaraloth asks if you can speak about the shadow self and the negative self-judgment. How do you help people through that?
A self-judgment? I think from the biggest thing I've learned that helps me is that recognizing that everything and everyone in my life is a reflection of what I'm going through. And sometimes it's literal, and sometimes it's just metaphorically a message. And the example I gave the other different one was, so you have an alcoholic, and that doesn't mean that you're an alcoholic because you're recognizing that he's an alcoholic because he's mirroring that for you, or that reflection for you. It could be you're, it's basically a mirror of feeling and so then looking at where in my life do I feel unsafe, and looking at all those aspects of where that plays out in your life and connect with it. Or where I think the biggest thing, what I was talking about the other night, as far as taking things personally, is that we very easily in our life, every time somebody says or does something, we automatically assume that they're doing it to us, when most of the time it has nothing to do with us. And so I think recognizing in those moments where we're allowing our ego to play the other role and say, oh, well, this person just cut you off in traffic, or this person is talking about you, or this person that, and stand back and go, that's not real. In reality, I am perfect and whole and the love and light of God. But in this moment, I'm feeling like someone is talking about me, so I'm feeling sad and just connecting with what you're feeling. For me, when I connect with what I'm feeling, then I can look at it and go, well, this isn't real. And recognize what the truth really is. Really down. And I with say, okay, I need something different. So I asked God, I need this to be the can't keep going through this really dark, dense, deep body work and delving into it. I can't get out. That's just the point. And immediately God showed me 4 different things I could do. And the 2 that I love the most and that I embrace most is theta healing and violet flame work. And I found, especially the violet flame work, is probably one of the most transformative things that you can possibly do. And it's actually something I'm going to be doing at the conference. I'm going to be taking people through a process of connecting personally in the feeling and connecting in with that, and then using the violet flame and the decrees and the flame itself to actually form that belief. And sometimes it's getting out, stepping back away from what I'm currently doing and finding something that is more loving. And I think to me, that's the best thing we can do, is always find the most loving way we can actually heal. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. So I did want to ask you, though, can you give us a little bit of a preview about what you're going to be speaking about at the Reignite Your Light Summit?
Yes, I'm going to talk about not taking things personally and how that helps you to embrace your authentic self. But like I said, I'm going to give some examples and just help people to identify where they're taking things personally, and then go through a process. And I'm actually doing the first half of the process, and the last half of the process, Sarah Spiritual is going to come up and do a special I am process that to kind of complete it, that Saint Germaine has given her, that I love. And so I was like, can you please do this to finish off the part I'm doing? Because it was like beyond about being, they transform their lives and take something that has been stuck, or they've been feeling stuck, and where they haven't been able to move past it, and help them transform it in that moment and integrate the healing fully and completely. And so when they leave there, they're transformed.
Awesome. Awesome. And so if people are interested in contacting you after the show, how would they be able to do that?
Well, my website is joellesaintgermain.com, and they can at joellesaintgermain.com as well. Or they can message me on Facebook. I think probably the easiest way is to get hold of me there. And I'm usually pretty good about getting back right away. So definitely send me an email, send me a message on Facebook. And definitely check out reigniteyourlightevents.com. Email there is contact@reigniteyourlightevents.com. And both Robin and I respond to that fairly quickly.
And the event is actually in an absolutely beautiful area. The hotel where it's going to be at is right on the beach. And is there a specific reason that you choose that area? You know, we talked a lot about the sacred sites. I know just the healing energy of the ocean does it for me. But is there anything else special about that area?
Well, it's funny because we haven't even done our formal announcement yet that we're now at the Westin Fort Lauderdale Beach Resort. We had originally set up to be at the Pier 66 Hotel and Marina, and the building we're going to be in is right on the marina, so the water's there and had windows that overlook the water, and it was amazing. And then we got a call the other day that they decided to close early, and they're closing on June 10th for at least a year, if not two, to fully renovate the entire property. But before I could have a heart attack, our worker Alexa, she was like, but I have a really good friend at the Westin Fort Lauderdale Beach Resort, and they're going to honor the agreement. And you just need to go over and see it. And I did it, and 29% of the agreement is completely exactly the same. They are, and now we have beachfront property. It's beautiful. And ironically, I was there a few weeks ago for the Abraham Hicks event. And so I'd already been there, and I was like, wow, this is a great hotel. I definitely should look into this in the future.
Oh, I love it.
And then God went, here. And it's great because it's actually a larger space. They have more hotel rooms. People can have an ocean view. They can have an intercoastal city view. They can have a partial of both. So it's fabulous. And it's the only hotel along a, because there's nothing on the beach itself, because the beach in Fort Lauderdale is actually kind of small. It's across the street, but it's the only hotel that actually has a walkway that goes over A1A right to the beach. So you don't even have to worry about crossing the street. You cross above the street to get over. We're hoping, if the tides are right, that Saturday night after the VIP dinner, that we'll get a whole bunch of people out on the beach and do some work for the summer solstice and just kind of connecting with that energy and doing toning work. And
that sounds fantastic. So it sounds like you were meant to be at that other hotel.
Energy devotion just raises the vibration of everything. So just have it.
Joelle, now one of the places that you have booked tours and events is Brazil. And that's actually a country that I've been very interested in, especially since I learned about the healer John of God, who works out of a site in Brazil. And I wondered if what your thoughts are on the fact that, this amazing healer chose Brazil for his healing center. What would you say about what's going on with Brazil and the energies there?
Well, John of God is in Virginia, and I probably said that wrong, but that's where he is. And I've coordinated 2 tours there, and I went on one of them and just coordinated the other one. But the energy of the area where it is called the Goya District, which is a plateau in the center of Brazil that is on crystals. And so the energy is just so amplified from those crystals. I mean, you'll find them on the ground everywhere. And even like we went to one place, it was called a crystal mine. It really wasn't a crystal mine. It was a mine that they had to break crystals. So there were crystals everywhere. So we were able to get crystals from crystals. Work he does there is amplified by not just the site. The site he is at is a very definite sacred site, but his work is amplified even higher by the vibration of the energy there from the crystals everywhere. But the work he does is beyond anything I've ever experienced before. I mean, I could go on for hours about my experiences with John of God and the healing work he's done on me. Robin had some great experiences there too. But to watch what he does, to experience it and know that it's done. And he heals past, present, and future because he heals from the other side where there is no time. So for me, he healed something that I will never have. And then he healed things that I currently have. I know he did stuff with working with my colon. He did stuff on my back and my neck, on my nose. I mean, he did a lot of work. And you don't have to go to him physically to experience the healing. You can send a picture of yourself to him with somebody. And as long as you're willing to take the herbs that they send back, which are basically just a way to their flower essences, and it's a way to allow what they call the entities that he work with to work with you. They kind of like help your system calm down so that they can work easier on you. Then it's an amazing experience, whether you're there in person or you do a long distance healing with them.
And that's another neat concept I wanted to ask you about, because, some people just may not be able to travel to all these, amazing places like, Italy or Ireland or France or whatever. And so for those folks that can't, I know a lot of healers, actually bring the energy of those sacred sites to wherever the person is. And so if we really get into things metaphysically, a lot of times we don't actually have to go to that place if we can tap into those energies. Have you, been able to do that to some degree?
Oh, yeah, I have some meditations that I do from some of the sites. The meditation that Jesus took me through and Stonehenge, I've done that with some people, and it has been phenomenal to have their experiences, because in a way it was clearing the chakras for them as well and helping to rebuild, because it was all about helping to rebuild the energy of Stonehenge. Also in Hawaii, in Kauai, Robin and I actually went there a few years ago, and we're actually planning on going back again in October. And there's a waterfall there called the Hidden Falls, and I won't try to pronounce it in Hawaiian, but it's where heaven and earth meet. And that waterfall was amazing. And I ended up getting a meditation from it that is one of the most healing meditations I've ever experienced. And so I love doing that with people as well, because it connects to that waterfall, to that healing for them. And so, yeah, everywhere I go. And because we get connected with those energies of those sites, and we bring back the stories, just even telling the stories, people will connect in with the sites and do that. So one of the things I've been guided to do is actually to create a book about my experiences at sacred sites, and so that people then can re-experience it as I did.
All right. Well, Joelle, that is our show, and we loved having you with us. So thanks for being with us here today on Spirit's Journey. And if you want to find out more about Joelle, you can go to Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio, and we'll have more details. Bye for now.
Cool.
Have a great week, everybody.